So for the past 10 months, I've not been able to go back to Russia where I've been living and studying for the past 6 years. My dad set up a whole sewing studio for me here in Tallinn in my bedroom so that I could finish my degree collection without compromise. I have a lot of different videos of the process on my channel, so you can check out the degree collection playlist up there. But in the meantime, let's get into my sewing studio tour. This is my little studio. Keep in mind, this is my childhood bedroom, so the decor here was done by a 12-year-old girl with a bunch of toys, okay? So that's out of the way. Now we can get into the studio tour in itself. This used to be my regular desk and it was turned the other way around so that when the people walk in, you could see them walking because this is the entrance door to my bedroom. But now it's all twisted around because we have this beautiful sewing machine. It's a second-hand Adler sewing machine, which I got from the atelier that I've been having some access to, sewing my degree collection alongside this little sewing studio. And I've been very lucky to find it because it was just 200 euros for a professional industrial sewing machine. It works wonders, so I'm very happy about that. I have a few threads here. I've been working with them from time to time. This is this beautiful mixture of basting threads which I've saved up, and we can actually move on to the gross ass background, which is my work table. It used to be white, it used to be nice and glossy and perfect, but to be honest, I ruined it way before I started working my degree collection here. All of those scratches that you see here are from the art school that I went to in 9th grade before I moved to Russia. I had to cut a lot and I did not have a cutting mat, which is evident from those scratches. My dad actually bought a different protective mat which I could put on top of this table so that nobody would see the scratches. The table is already ruined, so there's not really much to save up here. So all of those paint splatters are from my current state because I've been painting a lot, and those are acrylic. So you can kind of scratch them away, but well, they are here for now. Also, smooth transition to the amount of bottles that I usually have in my bedroom. I have typically like 4 maybe. This is just water, this is tea, and this is actually a mug I made on ceramics recently. But yeah, I have usually too many glasses in here. This always used to be here. It's been here since I studied in school. It's lovely. Wherever you touch it, it kind of lights up, which is quite comfy. And also I use it as a stand for my charger because this little thing is very convenient to just save my computer charger and I don't have to move whenever my computer just dies, and I have a bunch of outlets there as well. This lamp my dad got when we got the sewing machine. It's very comfy because it also has a magnifying glass. I don't use it as often as I probably could have, but it's very comfy because whenever you're sewing with very tiny details, you can zoom into the things which are actually quite far away, which is very convenient. And my dad uses it sometimes as well when he works with like ship models that he creates. So in here we actually have a little drawing that my boyfriend and I got done when we were on Arbor Street like 8 or 9 years ago almost. And these are all of my patterns, well, some of my patterns. I have my leggings and trouser patterns and a few of those that I made myself as well, but for the most part I have my prints from the degree collection which I've not had a chance to print on top of fabric because it's quite expensive to do the transfer for some reason. I don't know why. Now from here we're moving to the right, and I'll try to scooch so that you won't see my shadow, but this is basically a shelf of all of the stuff that I have for my collection, and not just that, just random art materials as well. We'll start from this corner. Now you see those metal bits. I just bought this wire with my dad a couple of days ago so that I could work on a mannequin, and I'll show you what I'm working on currently. This is a roll of my degree collection fabric which I used for the giant blank of look number 6 and a little bit for the skirt. Behind this we have my pleating board that I created during the summertime actually, and then this giant ruler which helps me create patterns. It has inches, it has centimeters, but to be honest I never use the inches because come on, we're in Europe, nobody uses inches. And here is that little mat which was covering the table, but it's also slashed because I've been cutting on that as well, so not too much help there. This is a roll of patterns for the top that I've been making a few months ago for look number 4, and it is supposed to be over here. I'll take this little box out and show you what's in all of those actually. On the left we have leftover small offcuts of leather and just random bits which I can disassemble and reuse. Most of those I got from the atelier where I've been working, but some of those I actually got myself as well. For example, this little piece, I made a skirt for look number 2 out of a jacket which I found in Avito, which is like a Kijiji if you're Canadian, and that sort of like secondhand online which people are just selling themselves. And I kept this pocket detailing which I top stitched because I absolutely love how it looks. I'm saving those tiniest scraps over here which are leather and synthetic leather as well. Now this box is just my random patterns which I created for the degree collection, as opposed to this wall which is mostly like pre-made patterns which I got from my university. These are all handmade ones and even fabric ones as well. So I made my look number 7 skirt out of this, and you can check out that video up there as well. All of the other patterns are made out of different types of paper. This is a glass jar of tiny scraps that I'm producing. I have a mixture of different boxes for scraps. You'll see I have maybe like 4 different ways of collecting the scraps. This is for the tiniest scraps. So you can see even little de-threaded pieces out of fabric are here, tiny pieces. I'm not exactly sold on how it is fitting because there is maybe like 2 kilos of fabric just stuffed into this jar, and I can't really put any more, and I am still producing tiny scraps, so I'm gonna have to rethink this organization method. So maybe I'm gonna have to find some box which is large like this, but well, it fits my needs now. All of those scraps I'm later reusing, and one of those I actually used for creating my pin cushion, which I'll show you later. But there are a bunch of different ways you can reuse tiny scraps, so don't throw out your scraps when you're working. Now this is also a scrap box, but when I'm sewing in the sewing machine I just put this little thing near me so that I could put all of the scraps in there, and afterwards I organize and put them into correct allocated areas. So this piece is way too big, but it could go into the leather scrap piece area, and then all the other pieces like these are also a little bit too big for this tiny scrap, so they would all go over there. This is another box of scraps. This is the biggest one. I have a bunch of different ones, and this is for like mid to big pieces of scraps. So this is like a middle-sized piece of scrap because it's a long straight piece, and those are larger ones. I'm going to be reusing all of them, so I'm not throwing out any of that. And yeah, you can, if you dig deep, you'll find a lot of different old projects, new projects. This is look number 4, so there are a bunch of different things interesting if you want to look in there. So this is an area for just the degree collection fabrics, all of the ones that I've used, all of the ones that I've experimented on, some samples which did not really work out, some samples which I've not used but I still can, and all of those pieces of fabric I'm going to be using to create an extension of my degree collection, which is definitely not going to go to the waste. This is my lino cut piece, so yeah, this is like a degree collection area. Below that we have a bunch of rolls of fabric which I have organized before, but they're sort of a mess right now, but I'll show you the real deal, which is what it looks like most of the time. It used to be like rainbow order, light to dark and all of that, but that's fine. So all of random old pieces of fabric which have rolled up into little rolls, and most of them are actually from a secondhand store or from a dead stock fabric place. Some of them are from the atelier as well, like this one is what I made my sample for look number 7 skirt out of, and it used to be a couch cover up, so there are a lot of different miscellaneous things in here. Now this area I've organized a little bit ago, so in here we have mostly zippers and a little bit of velcro pieces, so just random things I found around the house. Also I found a lot of old bras which don't fit absolutely anyone, so I disassembled and I saved some elastics, saved some of those little plasticky pieces. This is a box of lace strips, quite thick, quite wide. I've used them to create my first set of underwear. Because I have a flash on, you can see right away that this is a reflective strip. This is a box for random trims and things I could use as ties in the future. Some of those are taken from old clothing that I found, and some of those are pre-made, which I bought quite a while ago. Now all the rest of those boxes, these are for decorative elastics, these are for finishing elastics, which you've seen on my degree collection as well. I've worked a lot with those, and then those are for bias binding. I have quite a lot of different bias binding. A few of those are actually from my very old fashion uni projects. I'll show you. If you scroll through my Instagram, you'll see a black dress project which was from year 1 of my bachelor's degree, so 4 years ago almost, and it is still here. I don't throw out anything, I can reuse it later on, but I have a lot of bias binding. Now this bottom one is a little bit of miscellaneous because I have different cord ties, I have a few buttons, I have some random metal chains, so this is just a mixture of random things which usually go there. And then this is my box of buttons. I've saved all of them. They used to be lying around different areas of the house, and especially in that box of threads which was very cluttered, but now it's all in one place and it's a lot easier to find whatever you're looking for. This is the shelf that I'm using up the most often. This is spider net. It helps you glue pieces of fabric together when you're working with particularly like fussy fabrics. This is elastic trim, which could go into my trim box, but because I've been making like some face masks for my friends, I've kept it here. Random wire that I've been working on a mannequin with. This is a structural thing. It has glue tape on the sides, but then the middle point is very strong and it helps you create structure on seams which you have to kind of double. So there are a lot of different different pieces in here, like offcuts of a bra which I disassembled so that I could use this padding as well, and just random stuff like Frigilin and all that. On the left we have all of my fabric offcuts, which are leather or synthetic leather. All of those apart from this I got from the atelier. They are working with a lot of fabrics because they are reupholstering couches and working with like jackets and stuff, so I have a bunch of that. And this piece I bought from a dead stock fabric place, so it was quite cheap. This is my box of most important things for sewing. So we have my pincushion, which actually is handmade out of leftovers, and it is stuffed with fabric leftovers, which are the tiniest pieces, tiniest scraps from that box, so it's very comfy. All the rest of it that you can see on the inside is my measuring tape, some pins, and a few random stuff like my seam ripper, my chalk, and different needle sizes for my sewing machine. These are Kai scissors, Japanese steel. They're amazing. I have dropped them a few times and I've tried to make them a little bit sharper, but that's not the best idea. Try not to drop your sewing scissors. That's the best thing you can do for their sharpness, really. Now this shelf is mostly filled with art materials except for one sketchbook, but all of those acrylics that you see, my friend Julia gave away to me because she used to be into painting, but then she moved away to Sweden and she hasn't really painted since, so she gave all of this away. And I love painting with acrylic. That's why I don't really have a lot of my own, because I always run out of it, and she at some point stocked up so much, so I have a bunch of that acrylic. Thank you, Julia. And also this box as well, she gave it away to me so that I could organize all of my stuff, so thank you. Also, I have a little bit of random paints in here as well. This is acrylic pouring medium from Julia as well. This is a glow-in-the-dark paint, which I haven't really worked with. And then just a giant tub of white gouache, which I have worked a little bit before, but because all of those are acrylic, mixing them with gouache kind of makes the paint a little bit too thick, so I haven't worked with gouache since because I have a bunch of acrylic. Brushes, some of them from Julia, some of them I had myself. Another smaller little ruler, which I can use in art materials. Just random old oil pastels, very chalky oil pastels, and my very busted crusted paint palette, then amazing wonderful oil pastels. I love them. I bought this as a present for myself from finishing a year in art school, and I love them. They're the nicest, the thickest, the oiliest pastels I've ever worked with, so they're amazing. Also, I have like a tiny tub of gouache in here as well. This is my made out of scraps of fabric pencil case with a bunch of different things inside. This holds my paints that I had before. Julia brought all of that arsenal to me, so there's not much inside, but a few of those are here. All of my different sketchbooks and bullet journals and organizational things. These two are my bullet journals, diaries, organizers that I got. This my sister gave away to me, and this my friend and groupmate Hong brought from Korea, so I've used them up as well. They're quite helpful. I like to organize and plan my days in there. All the rest of those are my sketchbooks. This is my newer sketchbook, which I've just started working on a few weeks ago actually. This is my old sketchbook, and they're the exact same sketchbook, so you can see how thick my sketchbooks usually get after I've worked on them quite a bit. I have a tour of this and this sketchbook on my channel, which you can check out there. This is my degree collection sketchbook, and it's about to run up as well, so I'm going to be filming a tour of it quite soon. This sketchbook I filmed as well, and all of those are just random art materials which I'm collecting and I just find interesting. I found myself quite fascinated with packaging lately, so I've been flattening it out, taking photos, taking scans of it, and then probably going to be working it into my next sketchbook, because this one is also about to finish. Piece of my yoga mat, which I'm planning on stitching a portrait onto, so trying to work with different random art materials, even though I'm a fashion designer. This isn't really sewing related, but just around the house, my kind of stuff. So I really like this Stojo collapsible mug. I usually try to take it around with me everywhere I go, because sometimes I want coffee, I want tea, I want something, and this helps me not use any unsustainable packaging, unsustainable cups, and if I don't have it around, I just don't take drinks, period. Like, I don't take them with me. Just a mask to be safe, to be a nice citizen of this world, and a reusable bag that I always bring with me somewhere. This has nothing to do with sewing, to be honest. Now, this floor is for the most part just my random bags, random stuff. This is my backpack from first grade of school, and I still use it from time to time. This is actually a Secret Santa gift by Hong. She also made it out of scrap materials, scrap fabrics. I absolutely love it, and I still use it all the time for my drawing tablet. This is also made out of scrap pieces of fabric, and it holds my external hard drive, which I use all the time for video editing and just saving all of the information. Now, this is a box of all of those sewing equipment. A lot of people usually have this around their house just because it holds, for the most part, all the necessities for a regular person to sew all their stuff. But I mean, for me, it's not very comfortable. I would prefer all of the threads be out so that I could see them, and I wouldn't have to go through a box and kind of tie all of the threads between each other, but that's fine. It kind of works for me anyway. This bottom shelf also has a sewing machine, but this is like a very old domestic sewing machine, which doesn't really work that well, and even when I try to do a zigzag stitch, it's not the best. Now, this is another box of Julia's, and it holds my knit knitwear project. I made it out of scrap pieces of wool and threads that I've found around the house. And before I moved to Russia, I used to be very much into knitting, so much so that I thought I might go into knitwear when I go to my bachelor's, but our university didn't really have that as a course, so I just took fashion, and I'm quite glad, to be honest. I can always do knitwear when I go to my master's degree. But it holds just random pieces. Like this is from the atelier as well, but I really like how messy and how stitched it is, so I was thinking of maybe creating like a corset out of it, but for now it just stays here. These are also some of the yarn that I have, and knitting needles as well. And now we're almost done. This is my Moodboard wall, which I transferred here right when I came to Tallinn and realized that I would be staying here longer than 2 weeks. I created this just because I feel like it's way easier for me to just have everything on one wall, and that was sort of the approach we took when we got to our bachelor's degree. We were advised to work on a wall as a mood board, and that was quite helpful. Throughout the collection development, throughout me working on it, I added just random pieces, random swatches of fabric that I tried to do print on top of, a few photos of the photo shoots that I was able to take in Tallinn, and I added an updated mood board. This was what I came here to Tallinn with. This was the updated version, this was the actual thing, and to be honest, it still bears a few ideas which I would love to reuse in the future. Like this, for example. This sample I created on a heat press with genuine leather and paper clips when I was in Moscow, and unfortunately, like very much to my demise, I was not able to do it in Estonia because I didn't have a heat press access. I'd love to do passport covers made out of this. I'd love to do garments like dresses, skirts, whatever. When I get back to Moscow, I definitely will apply this technique back because I absolutely love it. And like I have a few sketches, a few ideas. Actually, this bag I recreated and I'll show you in a second. And the bag is here. I had this idea of recreating and trapping different synthetic scraps in between 2 layers of synthetic organza, and I made this bag. It's okay, I don't really love it. I feel like it was quite interesting when I just made it, but for the degree collection, I decided not to send it to Moscow when I sent all of my pieces for the degree video shoot, and it just stayed here. I feel like an idea, it's okay, but I'm not really happy with the shape, with the way it holds the structure. It was just an okay sample, which I can give away to someone, I guess, at some point. So a few of the pieces that I didn't send to Moscow. This bodysuit was originally supposed to be a part of my degree collection, but I realized I hate the way it fits. This area I had to redo maybe 4 times and I'm still not satisfied with it, so I decided just not to go with it because I created a lingerie set which worked better with my dress from look number 5. This was a sample top for look number 4. This was a sample pair of leggings for look number 4. This was a sample skirt for look number 7. This was also an experiment that I made as a top. I still really like it. It's probably going to go to my degree collection extension, and maybe I'll take this leather thing out and replace it because I love how it fits around the bust, but I'm not really sold on this crumpling method because it looks kind of messy, especially those areas. It's just a cut piece of synthetic leather. These are the offcuts from my blank structural piece. It was a metal mesh which I just had to cut down a little bit on the sides, and I don't want to throw it out because, like, come on, it's metal. It can be recycled, sure, but I have to take this tape out, and I think I could use it as straps for a bag or something because it holds shape really well. Maybe it could go to the bottom of a skirt that I'm planning on creating, but we'll see what that happens. I'm not throwing it out just yet. If I were to get rid of it, it will go into recycling. Another treasure chest that we have in this room is this actual chest of fabrics and clothing that I have. I've collected quite a few clothing pieces that have been donated. So those are like leather jackets, some of the dresses that I've made, some of the things that are not properly fitting, like linen trousers that my dad absolutely loved, but because they're so worn out, he can't really fix them anymore, so I can use them for fabric. Now this is a bag of fabric scraps, which I have a lot of. So there's a bunch of repetition of pretty small tiny scraps, which could have as well gone into that box, but because there's a lot of repetition of it, I just kept them in one area so that I could use them to create like a patchwork piece, which would not be too confusing, and I wouldn't have to kind of rummage through all of my boxes to find similar pieces. Some scrap paper pieces from my pattern making, which I can use in my sketchbooks, I can use in my pattern making in the future. I use this as my Christmas gift wraps because I didn't want to use anything new. It was one of the gift wraps. All the rest are just big rolls of fabric, which I'm planning on using in the future. This one was just so beautiful, I could not walk past it in my dead stock fabric store. This is like this beautiful kind of pistachio green on one side and mustardy yellow on the other. I really want to create something that would incorporate both of those colors, so we'll see what that goes with. And the last place that I can show you is this. It's not even a place, it's just my mannequin that I've been working on for a while. I told you I've been working on a mannequin with this metal wire that I had, and this is a sample of those metal pipes white metal wires that my dad and I just got recently are going to be used for this top. I will be posting this to my fashion process vlogs, but you get a little sneak peek of what's happening on this mannequin so far. So this is my studio tour in a nutshell. I hope you liked it. It's organized to an extent. There's room to grow, but it works for me. I like it so far. Hope it helps you maybe organize your studio space or realize that you can work from home if you put some work into it. To be honest, like if I didn't have my dad, I would not have this amazing studio space. So thank you, Dad, so much for creating this amazing studio for me and making my degree collection possible. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. See you next week. Bye.